Welcome to the Richard Lloyd USA YouTube channel. I'm Richard Lloyd. Today I'm making a video response for a question thrown to me on the Ubuntu bare metal install that you see here on the screen. That's my most recent video up to this point, and somebody asked me after seeing that video and installing Ubuntu on a desktop, can you make a video on how to unbrick a router using Ubuntu? And the person was Gad Hello, as you can see here. And I appreciate that, Gad. Thank you very much. Basically, I said, this is a good challenge. People should know how to do this. And I asked him which kind of router he wanted to be unbricked. And he said, any router. Okay, so I'm going to use a TP-Link Archer C9 version 1. This beautiful router right here. I really like it. I've already bricked it by the things I do for you guys. I already bricked this router by flashing it and turning it off halfway through the flash. So it now is in a brick state. You'll see the little lights on it, and it will basically cycle those lights on and off forever. So it's in a boot loop. It won't boot, and it won't see, there they go off. And they'll come back on, and it'll just keep doing that over and over and over again. So it's bricked, it needs to be recovered. And this video recovery that I'm showing you here is going to apply to TP-Link routers specifically, because TP-Link routers use something called TFTP recovery. And so what we're going to do in this video is use the TFTP recovery method to recover the router. And it works on a WR940N as well. So I believe it works on any TP-Link router out there that has the TFTP recovery mode. So if you're looking to fix a TP-Link router that's bricked, maybe this video will do it for you. I also have a video on how to do this in Windows. I'll put a card for that up there. I have many router videos if you're interested, so I'll put a link for all the videos up there as well. But regardless, this works great. You can do it in Ubuntu, and I'm about to show you how to do it. So first thing we're going to need to repair or recover this bricked router is the firmware to recover it with. So let's go to TP-Link and get the firmware. So www.tplink.com. There we go. And here you'll see a bunch of stuff. Okay, I got it here. But what you really need to see is, well, don't show that, is support. Is go to the support and then go to download center. Now, TP-Link has various sites for their routers because router firmware is specific to the nation that the router has been sold in or working in. So make sure that you go to the right website for your router. I'll show you that here in a second. So here we're at the support download center, and we're going to type in C9 because that's what I got. And you see that I got 3 different options for a C9, but what I have is an Archer C9. So again, very, very important here. Make sure you get the right router firmware for your router. There's a sticker on the back of your router that tells you the model and the version number. You need to have the exact right model and the exact right version to get the right firmware. So here we're going to hit on Archer C9. Opens up a new page, and here's it asks you choose your hardware version. Well, I have a version 1. Again, the sticker on the back of your router, and that will bring you all the firmware for the version 1 router, stock firmware from TP-Link. So here we're going to go to firmware, and you scroll down, and here they advise you what I just advised you of about the TP-Link official website of the purchase location for your TP-Link device. Otherwise, it will be against warranty. Please click here to change. So if you click this link here, I'm going to open it in a new link just to show it to you guys. And you can see here all their different locations for these firmwares. Again, they're specific to the nation you're in, so get the one that you're in. If you're in Canada, get the Canadian firmware. If you're in Chile, get the Chilean firmware, so on and so forth, all the way. China, India, Hong Kong, wherever you are, make sure you get the firmware specific to where you are. They are different, okay? So caution on that. I'm in the US, so I'm on the US site. and my router is a US router, so we're good, right? If you may want to read the instructions here, but again, we're not using the standard flash procedure, which is like, go to your router page and point to the file and let it flash the router. We're using a different procedure altogether. We're using the TFTP rescue procedure. So here I'm going to get the latest one, which is v180125 here. So just click on the link and we're going to download the file. So save it. And by default, most browsers in Linux save it to the downloads directory. So you can see that that's already downloaded. It's pretty small file. So we're going to go and get look at that file for a second. So let's go to downloads. And I have a bunch here. And I downloaded the 125. So let me get rid of this stuff. There we go. And you can see here that it is a zip file, right? It has a zipper in it, so that means it's a compressed file. It needs to be uncompressed. So let's uncompress it. Double click on it, and you see that we have the extraction tool comes up automatically. Here, double click on the folder, and now you see all the instructions on how to upgrade your router, the license, and so on. We don't need any of that stuff because we're not following those procedures. We're following a specific one that I'm going to show you next. So I'm going to choose the bin file. That is the actual firmware. So highlight that and choose extract. And it'll ask where, but just hit extract again. It'll just do it in the same directory you're in. In my case, downloads. Okay, then we close, get rid of the compression. And there it is, the bin file. This is the firmware for the router that needs to go in that router. But as you know, the router is doing a boot loop. There's no way to get to it and do it from a web page. You have to do it with the rescue procedure. So let's get going with that. Now the next thing we need to do, so we got the firmware, is to download and install a TFTP server into Ubuntu. So we're going to do that next. And I have a bunch of instructions here. And I'll put all this stuff in the video description below, as well as links for the hardware and anything I used on this video, which are affiliate links. And just so you know, affiliate links help support my channel by contributing a small amount of each sale that you go through and buy in those links. And that is at no cost to you. The price to you is the same whether you buy it directly from Amazon or eBay. So do me a favor, use the links in the video description to help me out a little bit. It doesn't cost you a cent. And it gets you to the right, to the same seller that I bought this stuff from, so you know that you're getting it from a reputable seller. And again, as I said, helps me out. So use those links in the video description. So I'm going to put all these commands in the video description as well, so if you want to find them, they'll be easily found there. So the first thing we need to do is go get the TFTP software. Now you can see this command here, the apt-get install tftpd-hpa is what I'm going to use to get that. So now we right click on the screen and then choose open in terminal. And that opens up a command line terminal. We're going to use that. And I'll just put this here so you can read what's going on. And now that I've highlighted and copied it from my document, you can do that from the actual description, video description. Hit space. So I hit paste, and there's the command to do it. So here we're going to hit enter, and it's going to ask me for the sudo password, which is the same password, or should be the same password that you logged into your computer with, or your desktop with, Ubuntu desktop. So here we go, enter. It does its thing. It goes and gets the package. It installs it, tells you what it's doing, and when it's done, it's just going to give you the cursor again, and we'll continue from there. All right, there's the cursor. Package is installed. And if you want to see if it's running, you can look at the service status command, which is right here. I'm just going to copy it again in the video description, and I'm going to paste it in here. And off we go. And you can see here that it's telling me, I'm going to stretch this out a bit, that the service is on. You have the green light on it. It's running, right? So everything's working just fine. But we need to configure this FTP server, TFTP server, to point to the right directory where the firmware file is. So we're going to do that next. Let's just, and here, just to get out of this status, just hit Control and C on your keyboard, and that gets you out of it. So next, we're going to configure it. So here you can see the command to edit and configure the server configuration file, and I'm going to use that here. It's just, oops, there we go. And it's Nano, it's a text editor, so here we're going to hit copy, and we're going to open it up in the command line interface or the terminal, and hit paste, and there's the command, hit enter, and we put it in. Now, I know this stuff may be intimidating, but just follow me step by step and you'll be fine. And again, the commands in the video description below. And here you can see a bunch of stuff, but what we need to install, what we need to put in here, and I will put all the stuff that we edited here, we're going to put it down here, into the video description as well. But I'll walk you through what it all means. So here, we got to change the TFTP directory to the directory that the downloads are, or where I downloaded the flash file. Okay, so I'm going to open up another terminal here, a new window, and I'll show you how to find that. Now, if you want to know what directory you're in, there's a command called pwd, and it's what that means. Pwd means print working directory, and I have the commands in this text file too, again in the video description. So here we're going to type in pwd, and we see that we're at home and default. Well, we need to go to the home and default downloads directory. So if you go and do a cd, which means change directory, to let's do it, home, and default is my username for this installation. I'll put a link for the video of installing Ubuntu here. So default, and if you hit tab, it completes it, and then downloads, and again, case sensitive. Downloads is in capitals, so there's that. And if we do this, it'll change over to the downloads directory. So we'll do that, and here we're going to go ls, and it shows you everything in that directory. And again, pwd will show you what directory you're in. So we need to tell the TFTP server to go looking for this, to look for or source files from this directory. Now, again, let me explain this. Home is the home directory. Default is the username, your username. So whatever your username is, that's what's next on the /, and then downloads, where I downloaded the file. So, so we go back here to our configuration. And if you want to just use your keyboard to copy and paste, just do a Control Shift and C for copy, and Control Shift for V for paste, and that's how you paste into the command line. And I just did a Control Shift V. There's the directory. All right, that's number one. Number two thing we got to do here is we have to make the log, when it says TFTP options, we need to look at the log, and we need to look at it in detail. So what I'm going to type in here is verbose, and then verbose again. And why I'm doing verbose twice is because one verbose gives you a certain level of verbosity in your log file, and two gives you even more. And you want the two verbose commands in there to make it that much more detailed, so you know what's going on with the TFTP server when you're using it. So we've got that all done. Here, to exit out, you see the commands at the bottom, and you can see exit, read file, all this stuff. The hat means control, so here we're going to do Control X to get out, and then save modified buffer. What that means is save the file, so you're going to say yes. It says what's the file name. We'll go with the default, exactly what it was before. There we go. So now we've configured the router, the TFTP server to serve files from the download directory, and the log file will be verbose. Now, again, don't get too caught up with it. You'll see how this all works in a second. If you want to make sure that it works, just use your up arrow key to look at that command again. You can see that all the changes took because they're there. And then here we hit Control X again to get out. So now we've got the server configured correctly. We need to restart it. So we're going to type in this command, and I think I have it in here. No, maybe not. I'll put it in a second. So here you put this command in and then restart. And that restarts the server and reloads the configuration file, which makes it go to the right place. So we did that. There we go. In its typical Linux fashion, it's not chatty. If it works, it works. It doesn't give you any response to the command. It just does it. So that's how you know there was no error. So here I'm going to put that in there again. Control V, sudo service restart. So again, all this stuff is going to go into the video description. Restart tftp server after config. There we go. All right. So there it is. And I'm going to save that. There we go. So now we've got the TFTP server running and serving up files from the right directory. Next, we got to go into the settings, your network settings, to set this up correctly. So here we're going to go, and so right click your desktop and you can go to settings. There's many ways to get there, and you can see that I'm defaulting right into the network. I've got all the files I need. So first thing I'm going to do is turn Wi-Fi off. Why am I turning Wi-Fi off? Just to be sure that the only thing I'm working with is the router connected to the network card in the back of the computer. The router itself has a network cable going from one of the LAN ports, not the WAN port, the internet port, but the LAN ports, sorry. And from there, I've got the network cable going into the network card port in the back of this PC. So that's the way that's configured. Again, this is for TP-Link only routers, and they're all hooked up the same way. So we go to network here. You can see it says cable unplugged. Well, really it's not unplugged. It's just that the router is off, so it thinks there's no cable plugged in. So here we're going to go to the gear for the settings, and we're going to go to IPv4. Now it's set to automatic, which is standard. We're going to change it to manual, and we're going to put an IP address here, 192.168.0.66 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Again, you don't really need to know what this all means. Just put it in there. Trust me, it'll work. The IP address 066 is where the router is looking for a TFTP server. Okay, all the TP-Link routers go looking for a TFTP server in the rescue mode at that IP. So set it to that and hit apply, and you're done. And again, I've got this in the video. I'm going to put again these numbers in the video description, as you can see here on my note. Step one is done. Next thing we need to do is basically get the router. Now everything is set right now. The router is set. The settings are set correctly for the network. And so we have a TFTP server running on 192.168.0.66. And what I'm going to do is show you how to get this into the boot mode. In this router, we're just going to turn the power on and hold the reset key down for 4 to 5 seconds. And at that point, the router will reach into the TFTP server and get the file. And I'll show you how to verify that it did that. So let's just do that. I'm holding the reset button down. I'm turning it on. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see that the wired connection went from unplugged to turned on. So it automatically turned on because it sensed that the router is on. You can see that the router has the 4 lights on it right now. We'll see what happens in a second. I'm not sure whether I went far enough, but I'm just going to watch it for a sec. If it reboots, yeah, I didn't quite get it long enough. Okay, so let's try that one more time. I'm going to hold it down, and what we're looking for is the 2 little arrows in a circle to be on by themselves. So let's do that again. Oh, actually, no. We just did exactly what we needed to do. So right now, yeah, I almost missed a step here. But regardless, I know why it didn't take the file, and I'll show you why here in a second. And this is part of the video. I meant to show you this. So let's see what happened here. So let's minimize this out of the way. Same with this. Get the clutter down. And so if you want to see what just happened, or what the router tried to do with the TFTP server, you go and look at the log files for the TFTP server. And this is important here. So if we go here to my commands, you'll see the grep command here. And what we're going to grep for is TFTP in the syslog files, which means it's going to look for the logs for the TFTP server. So I'm just going to do that here. And I guess, yeah, we'll do it here. And I'm going to paste that command in here. Again, the description for the commands. Enter it in, and you can see a bunch of stuff. But what really matters is right here. RRQ, request from 192.168.0.86. That's the router's IP address. File name, Archer C9V1 underscore TP underscore recovery.bin. So the router is looking for this file, right? And that's why it didn't work. And I'll show you why. So what you're going to do is highlight this file name here and copy it, right? And then because we set verbose logging, you can see the TFTP server said, hey, I didn't find that file. Sorry, right? So the reason it didn't find that file is we didn't rename the firmware file to the correct file name, so it couldn't find it. So again, this is important, because if you're not using an Archer C9, okay, let me show you what happens with a WR940N. Again, connected exactly the same way. LAN ports to the Ethernet cable, reset here, and I'm just going to do the same TFTP recovery, which is hold the reset button down for 4 seconds, and then it will come up. You can see here and there. All right. So right now, this one is trying to get a file from the TFTP server to recover it. So I can turn that off now at this point. I'm sure that it's generated a log. So here we look at the log again. Grep the TFTP. And you can see it tried 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times to get this recovery file. And it's a different name than the original Archer C9. So every router has its own name file it's looking for. That's why this is important, because you need to get the name that the router is looking for and rename the flash file to that name. So we want the Archer here, and case is important, so I'm just going to copy it and paste it. So right click it, highlight it, copy it, and we're going to go to the downloads directory where we put the file, and here we're going to right click it, choose rename, Control A so that we get the entire thing, and then paste the new name in there and rename it. Now we've got a file, a firmware file, correctly named in that directory, and the router should take it when we turn it back on again. So let's plug in our Archer C9, and this time it will grab the file and it will install it and run with it. So got it plugged into the LAN ports with the Ethernet cable, got it powered up. I'm going to hit the reset button, turn it on, and wait 4 or 5 seconds, see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. You can see I've got the one LED with the 2 little arrows in a circle chasing each other on. So right now it's grabbing that file, it's installing it, and it's updating it. Okay, so if you want to see what happened there, we'll go back here, run that log command again, where we're looking at the log files, and enter, and you can see, request for file name, and in the usual way of Linux is if there's no error, there's no message. So it says a request for the file name, and so this thing went looking from 086, the IP address 086 went looking for that file name, and we gave it to it. So that's it. You can see that the 2 little circular lights, the 2 little circular arrows are still on. Eventually what will happen is this router will reboot, and after it reboots, we're going to go to the web page, configuration web page for the router and see it running with the stock TP-Link software or firmware. So I'll wait for that here in a second. Almost there, I'm sure. And it takes a bit, really. The router is doing a lot of configuration at this point. So let's go back to our settings here, see what's going on. You can see that we're connected. And for now, we can leave the IPv4 settings exactly how we set them. But after we're done, we're going to set them to automatic again. But right here, we're leaving them alone. You can see that the lights have now come off. So the router is done installing the firmware. Now we're back to a regular display on this router. So it's ready to go. Let's go take a look at it. So open up the browser. Let's go to, well, if you want to find out what IP address it's on, just, well, actually, it'll be on 0.1.1. But at this point here, what we can do is reset the network back to what it used to be. So let's do that first. We'll put this on automatic under IPv4, apply. I'm going to turn it off and turn it back on again, which will force it to go get a new IP address. We'll go back to Wi-Fi and well, actually, we'll leave Wi-Fi off for now, so we don't have any conflicts. That should give us a new IP address, what we just did. So we go back to network here, look at the gear, and you can see we have an IP address of 192.168.0.100, and the default route is 192.168.0.1. DNS is the same. That is the IP address that we're looking for the router, so I'm just going to copy it from here so I don't have to type it. Put it in here into your browser, hit paste, and hit enter, and voila! The TP-Link router is recovered. This is the default admin page, and I'm just going to log into it for everybody. And just so you know, the default username and password for TP-Link routers is admin for the username, admin for the password. Make sure you change that. It's way too easy to hack you otherwise. Click on login. And you can see it goes through, it's trying to go through a basic setup. If I go to advanced, I get all the information I need to see that the router is running. And that's it. The router is recovered, right? So that's the procedure for doing a TFTP rescue of your TP-Link router in Ubuntu. Now, it may be a little intimidating for you, but again, just follow my steps and get the information like I showed you to get the information. Again, all the commands will be in the video description. And again, Ubuntu is a high-level operating system that allows you to do just about anything to it from the command line. So I just showed you how to do it from the command line. I don't believe there's a GUI interface for the TFTP server, but there may be, but it doesn't matter. You don't need it, right? I just showed you how to do that without using a GUI interface. So what's a GUI interface? A graphical user interface. So here we've got everything working okay. I'm going to hit cancel here. Go back to Wi-Fi, turn it back on, and it will log in automatically. And you do whatever you want with the files after this. You can just delete them. And by the way, this same procedure works if you've got dd-wrt in the router and you want to revert it back to stock. If you follow this procedure, it'll take it from dd-wrt back to stock, okay? So that's it. Let me close all this stuff up. And I don't think there'll be anything new here. Nope, there isn't. So it did exactly what it's supposed to do and updated itself. Well, we updated it, but it did use the TFTP server. Now, we're not done yet. Here's the deal. You don't want your TFTP server running all the time, which is what it's going to do now. Every time you boot the machine up, the TFTP server is going to be up and running and saying, hello, I'm ready. And that means that there's something inside your computer that's accepting connections without using a password. You notice that we got that file from this computer to the router without using a password. So it's wide open. Now we're going to remove the TFTP server. Again, we don't want that running all the time in the background. It's a vulnerability. So there's two ways to remove it. Number one is to use the apt-get remove command, and that removes the server, but it keeps the configuration file that we saved. So if you want to keep the configuration file so you never have to do the editing of it again, then just use the remove command. If you want to remove it totally, including the configuration file, use the purge command down here, okay? Again, in the video description. So let's use the, I'm just going to use the remove. I'd like to keep that configuration just in case I want to do this again in the future. So here, I'm just going to hit paste on that. There it is, apt-get remove tftpd-hpa, enter. It's going to ask me for the username. That's the one that you logged in with. Off we go. Say yes, and it will take out your TFTP server. And you can verify that it's not running by running the status command again in the video description. Enter. You can see that it's not running, right? It tells you it's not running. So you look at all this stuff and it says, nope, sorry, done. So it's no longer running in there. Again, if you want to go complete and remove it, just use the purge instead of remove. So we're done with that. Your Ubuntu desktop's back to the way you started it. Your router should now be recovered, right? Just like this one. And make sure, make sure that you get the right firmware file and from the right country or the right nation that you're in, as you can go from the frying pan to the fire. You can make your brick router worse, okay, by using the wrong firmware file. And there are other ways to recover them using a serial connection soldered onto the motherboard of the router, but I'm not going into that in this video. That is high-level recovery. And I have videos on doing that as well. So we're done here. The service is off. TFTP server is gone. And everything is ready to go. Okay, that's it for my video. If you liked this video and it helped you out in some way, do me a favor and give me a big thumbs up and a like in the bottom here, as that helps me in the YouTube algorithm and also helps me to grow my channel and helps other people, it helps YouTube serve this video out to other people who need help doing this in Ubuntu. Again, I have a video on how to do this on Windows as well. Again, I'll put cards up for that stuff. Also, in the bottom corner all through this video, you'll see a link to subscribe. If you click on that, you'll be subscribed to my channel. At the end of the video, you'll also see a picture of me. That's also a subscription link. As part of the subscription process, both times you'll get a bell icon, right? Either way. And if you click on the bell icon, you'll be notified every time I put up a new video, and then you can watch it at your own leisure. Once again, and like always, I want to thank you for watching, supporting my efforts here, and also the very kind comments in the comment section below. This video was actually generated from a comment, as you saw, so I certainly do appreciate them, and I certainly like making videos like this for people, especially if I think it's going to help people to solve problems like fixing your router. So that's super cool. All right, once again, stay safe. Stay healthy and stay happy.